Tamadang, and I will be going over the literacy portfolio that we have worked on for the past 8 weeks, and I will be going over my findings, what I did in my project, and what the results meant. So let's get started. So this is my intervention research plan for GED 1697. Alright, so the area of focus that I did for this specific project was working on the students' fluency. We know that fluency included rate, accuracy, and prosody, and so the students I worked with struggled with fluency. That's what showed up on their assessments, and when I talked to their teachers, they needed extra support in that area. And so, in addition to working with the students' fluency, I worked with them in small groups. So, a research question that I wanted to focus on was, do repeated readings in small groups support a student's overall fluency? That was how I did my intervention and my project, with repeated readings, and I will go more into depth with that. So for the literature review of my project, both of these two articles that I wanted to include was more focused on the specific strategies for fluency. They were more practical fluency strategies that teachers could implement. Acostatello was more about choral reading and described how without fluency, students are just decoders. They're not actually comprehending what they're reading, which is the ultimate goal of reading. And so they gave out ideas and strategies such as choral reading, the word bank, flashcards to support students in their fluency. And then in addition to that, Young et al. Was focused on reader's theater and how reader's theater helped the comprehension of the students. And so the nice thing about this article is that they explain thoroughly the connection between fluency and comprehension. You can't get comprehension without fluency, and fluency is connected to the other parts of the literacy, which we all know is phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocabulary, and then the end goal of comprehension. And so for Young et al., they found out that reader's theater is a great strategy to help students in their comprehension. And so that's a strategy I would like to try as well. All right. Next, for the methodology, what I did for my project was, it was a 2-week intervention where I saw the students twice a week for 30 minutes. And so within that 2-week span, I had 4 students. And within those 4 students, I broke them up into 2 groups. So group one group was has struggled with prosody, and the other group, they were struggling with accuracy. And so it was nice to do some differentiated instruction with the students and do something where that they could get the extra support in. And so for the group, for the intervention, what I did was group reading, where I modeled for them how to read either with accuracy or with prosody, mostly prosody for the students to see the expression and intonation. And then for the bulk of the time, I let them do the read alouds and do partner reading. After I modeled, I would just observe as they were reading aloud, and I provided immediate feedback. So if a student was struggling, I would say, "Oh, let's try that again," and then they would be able to work on it. And then in addition to that, the materials that we worked with was Benchmark Advance. For 5th graders, they had their own booklets with excerpts that they had read before, and we worked on those for the 2 weeks. Now, going into my data to show what had happened, I did a pre and post test. Oh, I forgot to mention that in my methodology. So I did a pre and post test. If we remember from GED 6096, we had that assessment book. So I did the Maziar oral fluency test for them. And so my 4 students, as you can see on this, the pre and post test for the words correct per minute, there was about more than half on fluent, how do I phrase that? More than half of improvement, improvement on their words correct per minute. We can see the biggest one that had the biggest gap for improvement was Max. He struggled a lot with accuracy, so it was nice to see after the last 2 weeks there was improvement. For Amy, there was a lot of improvement as well. And then for Nora and Jane, there was slight improvement, I think by like 1%, 2%, and Nora and Jane struggled mostly with prosody, which is one of the reasons why like their accuracy or the words correct per minute stayed the same, or not that big of a difference. And so for the pre-test accuracy and post-test accuracy, Max and Amy were able to improve as well. We could see that overall they had a big improvement. And then for Nora and Jane, we could see as well that they had a bigger improvement between their pre-test accuracy and their post-test accuracy, which is really nice to see. Now, ending with the PowerPoint, some of the recommendations I would say is go to tie in the data first. Repeated readings do support students in their reading fluency. Overall, whether it was a little bit or a huge gap, the students were able to improve in their fluency after the intervention. So I do recommend, because that works, is 30 minutes a day, which is what we did, and then having a literacy block. The 30 minutes was on top of the 45 minutes the class had for literacy, so that gave them a good chunk of time to work with literacy. And so that's the extra 30 minutes twice a week was overall beneficial for the students who struggled with fluency. And then lastly, I think the students just need that modeling from us. Students who just struggle, whether it's vocabulary, reading, phonics, if they're able to see how we say it, how our mouths look, and they're able to hear it more than once, I think that's what really supported them in growing as a student in their fluency. And that's my project. Thanks, everyone.